From claims of healings and visions to the world's most inexplicable events, whether you're a believer or a skeptic, the truth is always worth the hunt.
EWTN Radio presents The Miracle Hunter with Michael O'Neill.
Welcome to the Miracle Hunter Radio Show on EWTN Radio. This is Michael O'Neill. I'm the Miracle Hunter. I've traveled a lot and was in South America a little over a year ago, traveling to all the great Marian sites and other places of miracles there in South America. And one of my favorite spots was Quito in Ecuador. And one of the main places to see if you're there is the church that relates to Our Lady of Good Success, the site of that Marian apparition and miraculous statue. And we'll be joined today by Matthew Arnold, who, in my opinion, is the world's expert on Our Lady of Good Success. He'll be breaking it down about those incredible prophecies and the miracles that happened on that site. We'll also be joined later in the show by Kevin Symonds, and he'll be talking to us about a controversial and interesting topic that relates to Our Lady of Fatima. And you may have heard of this, and there are various people out there who are either causing trouble or otherwise questioning the consecration related to Our Lady of Fatima. And there's that fake Sister Lucy hypothesis or question. And Kevin has been doing some research into this, and he's going to break down what some of the question marks are related to that hypothesis and see if it's really believable. And we'll get into that in a little bit, but should be fascinating to talk with Kevin later in the show. And check out my series, They Might Be Saints. One of my favorite episodes is coming up on February 3rd, relating to Bishop Frederick Barriga. Trekking across Michigan's wilderness earned him the nickname the Snowshoe Priest, but his heroic virtue, bringing the gospel to Native Americans and immigrant miners, may earn Bishop Frederick Barriga sainthood. So check that one out on February 3rd, or you can go to theymightbesaints.com, and you can watch the episode there. Check out my other series, Explore with the Miracle Hunter. This is my series where I travel all around the world. And on this week's show, San Giovanni Rotondo. Of course, that is the place of St. Padre Pio, the great miracle-working saint. And I journey to Italy to meet the man known worldwide for healing miracles by location and exhibiting the wounds of Christ in the Stigmata. And that is Saturday, January 31st at 5:30 p.m. Central Time. We'll be looking at that incredible miracle-working saint, Padre Pio. And later in the show, we're going to be looking at the Might Be Saint of the Day, like we always do. For today, we've got Blessed Luis degli Albertoni, from Italy, of course, who died in the year 1474. And the 365 Days with Mary project looks at Our Lady of Hope, from Cidade de Esperança in Brazil in the year 1966. The question of the week, what about the alleged Marian apparition in Naju in Korea? I'll do my best to answer what the church is saying about that these days. And the miracle of the day is a Eucharistic miracle at Tumaco. It's called the Miracle of the Wave that happened on January 31st in the year 1906. Let's take a look at the miracle news. We do this every week where we talk about the miracles happening all the world and those things that relate to miracles. People can go on my Facebook page for this post. I recently posted a new article from EWTN News that came out that 2 new miracles have been reported through the intercession of St. Charbel in this year. And so 2 new miracles have been attributed to St. Charbel already in 2026, one in the United States and one in Lebanon. And these miracles have been reported since the beginning of the year, and each involving the healing of a woman against all medical odds. And so he's revered by the faithful as the Doctor of the Sky, St. Charbel. He's a Lebanese Maronite monk and priest. He's now associated with more than 30,000 reported miracles. And when people ask me who to pray to for a miracle, I always say, choose between Padre Pio or St. Charbel. They're the 2 top guys. From his hermitage in the mountains of Lebanon to hospital rooms across various continents, his intercession continues to reach people everywhere and transcending borders, cultures, and generations. Now, the case from the United States, attorney Georgianne Walker, born in South Bend, Indiana, home of Notre Dame, in 1975, reported that she underwent abdominal surgery in December 2024, which was soon followed by a serious infection in the lower abdomen. And this infection caused severe pain and lots of anxiety, I'm sure. And it required 6 weeks of antibiotic treatment. And while the symptoms gradually subsided, the wound remained opened, inflamed, and unhealed. And despite the surgeons keeping a close eye on it and other medical professionals looking at it, the wound showed no improvement. For 10 months, Walker changed her dressings daily due to continuous bleeding, and with no progress, her surgeon ultimately concluded that a second operation was necessary to remove the inflamed tissue and scheduled a new surgery. Now, in September of 2025, Walker said she was visited by George Issa, a Lebanese friend who had been healed through the intercession of St. Charbel Makhlouf 3 years earlier, and Issa brought with him a small vial of oil associated with the saint and encouraged her to pray for his intercession and anoint her wound with the oil. And the use of blessed oil is a long-established practice in Eastern Christian tradition, continuing to this day, and it's an ancient custom that refers to St. Charbel specifically in this case. And the monastery of St. Maron and Anaya continue to use blessed oil with the saint's relics to distribute it to the lay faithful and request his intercession for healing and other graces. And Walker stated that she prayed and applied the oil to the wound, after which it healed completely. She reported a full recovery and no longer required the scheduled surgery. And she said she believed the healing occurred through the intercession of St. Charbel and expressed gratitude to both the saint and Issa for what she described as a life-changing event. And this healing was officially recorded on January 17th. And that is the miracle news for today. I posted the article to my Facebook page of the Miracle Hunter. You can read the whole thing. There are so many miracles, but these two brand new ones that have been reported are posted there. Let's take a look at Catholic Pub Trivia. We do this every week where we ask a trivia question and give out a prize to an emailer who writes in the fastest with the correct answer. And this week's question relates to Our Lady of Quito, or Our Lady of Good Success, as we might say. We'll be talking about that with Matthew Arnold in just a little bit. But the question for this week is, what is the oldest formally investigated and approved Marian apparition in Catholic Church history? So the question again for this week, what is the oldest formally investigated and approved Marian apparition in church history? If you think you know that answer and want to win the prize, the image of the faces of Mary, send me an email to questions@miraclehunter.com, and maybe you'll be the one with the fastest answers, and answers and winners will be posted on the show page on miraclehunter.com. We need to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to be talking with Matthew Arnold about Our Lady of Good Success from Quito in Ecuador. Stay with us for that.
Now, back to the Miracle Hunter on EWTN. Here's Michael O'Neill.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Miracle Hunter radio show on EWTN Radio. This is Michael O'Neill. I'm the Miracle Hunter. One of the perks of the job is that I get to travel around the world to some of the most fascinating places of miracles. A little over a year ago, I was in South America, and I was able to stop on February 2nd at this place in Quito in Ecuador. And it is the place where the devotion to Our Lady of Good Success first stemmed from. And we're so excited today with that Candelaria, that February 2nd feast day, in the near future to talk about that with who I consider to be the true expert on Our Lady of Good Success, and that is Matthew Arnold. Welcome back to the program today, Matthew.
Thank you so much, Michael. It's great to be here.
Well, it's great to talk about this, and this is a devotion, a Marian apparition, a miraculous statue, something with some tremendous prophecies that were made at the time that I don't think many Catholics know about this. I think that, of course, we all know Fatima, Lourdes, and Guadalupe as these big three Marian apparitions, but predating those was these apparitions that occurred in Quito, Ecuador. Before we dig into that, this name, Nuestra Señora del Buen Suceso, Lady of Good Success, is kind of a tripping point for a lot of people. What does that mean when we talk about praying for a good success from Mary?
Right. Well, to the Anglophone ear, Good Success, Our Lady of Good Success sounds like some kind of Catholic version of the health and wealth gospel, right? Looking for success, we generally think material success. But in Spanish, buen suceso, or good success, means a great event. And her full title in Quito is La Nuestra Señora del Buen Suceso de la Purificación. So the purification is the great event that is signified by that title. And when you think about it, that was the greatest sacrifice ever made in the Temple of Jerusalem, when Mary and Joseph brought the Christ child to give him to God the Father.
Fascinating. So that's the connecting point. And these events, these miraculous happenings, and I know that we're talking about the end of the 1500s, perhaps, is the time when this would trace back to. They center around Mother Mariana de Jesus Torres as the visionary and the person who's the centerpiece of this all. So talk a little bit about who was Mother Mariana and what events started happening to her.
Right. Well, Mother Mariana was a Conceptionist sister from Spain. She came with her cousin from the New World to Ecuador to found the Royal Convent of the Immaculate Conception. The Conceptionist sisters are part of the Franciscan family, and so they're very devoted to the conception, the Immaculate Conception of the Blessed Virgin Mary. And around the year 1599, Our Lady appeared to, first she appeared to Mother Mariana on the trip over when there was a storm at sea, and she got kind of a prophetic vision of the devil trying to impede their work, and Our Lady interceding on their behalf. And then in the 1500s, I guess really 1594, she first appeared to Our Lady appeared to Mother Mariana there at the convent, and then again in 1599 to ask that the sisters have a statue commissioned.
And the statue is still there today. It's a point of great devotion. But as far as the apparition itself, before the request for the building of the statue, what were the types of what was the content of the messages, or what was the reason for Mary appearing to Mother Mariana?
Well, Mother Mariana was given to understand by Our Lady that there would be a great crisis of faith in the church and the world, and that it was going to reach something of a climax in the 20th century. And of course, this is, we're talking about several hundred years before these events, but she talked about such things as there being the sacrament of matrimony being attacked, or really all of the sacraments, and that innocence would almost no longer be found in children, or modesty in women, that there'd be almost no virgin souls, and and again that there'd be a general kind of corruption of customs, and not just in the world, and pick your own favorite general corrupted custom, but also in the church, that there would there's this great fall off in the attendance at Holy Mass. And so again, I think in the midst of the great Counter-Reformation, that these prophecies were not expected. They didn't. Nobody was looking forward to the kind of things that are happening in our own day at that time. And yet here's Our Lady coming to tell Mother Mariana all about this great crisis of faith and morals in the church.
And she did so hundreds of years before those things were to actually come to pass in the 20th century and beyond. We're talking today with Matthew Arnold about Our Lady of Good Success, the famous Marian apparition from Quito in Ecuador. That was such a blessing that I had to be able to go there and to participate in the procession with the candles down the streets in front of the convent. It was truly an amazing event. And I think that one of the things that a lot of people are interested in is this statue. The statue is on display during the feast day, and you can see it in the convent on other days. But what is this miraculous statue, and what is the story about how it came to be?
Well, Our Lady asked that there be that Mother Mariana would commission a statue in her honor, statue of her, as she appeared to Mother Mariana, holding the Christ child in her left hand, and with a crozier signifying her, that she would be the perpetual abbess of their convent, and the keys also to the monastery, showing her kind of spiritual authority over the sisters. And that this would it would be a great source of hope for people, especially living through the crisis of faith and morals that was to come. And of course, Mother Mariana, well, she responded by saying something along the lines, "I don't know nothing about making no statues." Okay, that's my paraphrase. You understand that it was well outside, the daily activities of a cloistered nun. But Mary told her not to worry, that she'd take care of it. She chose the sculptor, and Mother Mariana was concerned about getting permission, and she put it off for something close to 10 years. And the Blessed Virgin then appeared to her and said, don't delay any longer. And so she went to the local bishop, Bishop de Ribera, and, to her surprise, he was all for it. And so the statue was made by this a local sculptor, Francisco del Castillo, and it's done in the Baroque manner. So it's carved of wood and then highly, painted and then highly polished. And when it came time to paint the statues, he went to Colombia to buy Spanish paint because he wanted only the best. And while he was gone, in fact, the day before his return, the Mother Mariana tells us the statue was miraculously completed by the archangels, right, Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael, under the direction of her founder, Pope Francis, or Saint Francis of Assisi. And that she, of course, she witnessed this. And then the following day, when the sculptor returned, he fell to his knees. He said, "No human hand has done this," and ran to get the bishop, who had the same reaction. And, you wonder, what is it about this? I mean, you've seen the statue.
Yes.
I've seen the statue. And I think you would agree, Michael, that no photograph does it justice. You really have to see it with your own eyes to be able to appreciate the statue. But, is it the most accurate? Is it the most beautiful? Well, statues of the Blessed Virgin Mary, there are more artistic representations of the Blessed Virgin than any other woman of history, and it represents the cream of artistic genius. But what made this so special, what made it miraculous, was that the sculptor and the bishop realized that this statue had not just been completed, it had been transformed. That the actual features of the sculpture he made had changed to better represent Mother Mariana's vision. And that's how they understood it was a miracle. And the bishop recorded it as such.
Amazing. We've been talking today with Matthew Arnold about Our Lady of Good Success, that famous Marian apparition and miraculous statue that is connected with Candelaria, the Feast of the Purification in Quito in Ecuador. And truly one of the major Marian apparitions in history. And when we view the church, how they've recognized this apparition, usually when it comes to apparitions, we see canonization of visionary or the visionary or some other way that the church has acknowledged that something special has happened here that's worthy of belief. How has the church addressed this sort of older Marian apparition that somewhat predates the investigative process of the Catholic Church as it is applied to the more famous apparitions in more recent centuries? What has the church done to recognize this event?
Well, yeah, this of course is your area of expertise, and I know that you're very well versed in the Marian apparitions. But what I think a lot of people, rank and file Catholics don't understand is that the local bishop is the bishop of competence, as they say.
Correct.
And so it has been recognized as genuine by the local ordinary ever since it first happened, right? Back in I think 1611 is when he made that judgment, and all the subsequent bishops have, agreed with that, and it has been a place of pilgrimage. In 1991, it was named an Archdiocesan Marian Sanctuary, which means that you can go there and on pilgrimage and receive the, plenary indulgence and everything, just as if you were going to Lourdes or Fatima.
Right. Yeah, wonderful. And for us as modern Catholics who look at this Marian apparition, this event from the late 1500s and beyond, how do we view this in modern times, and what do we take away? What's the best takeaway from the events of Our Lady of Good Success?
Well, when you look at the prophecies, they are dire. Okay, so we didn't really have time to go into the into the specifics. We're talking about, the priestly abuse scandal that happened at the late, part of the last century and the early part of this one, was a part of this. And she said that it would scandalize the Christian faithful, and that many would lose their faith. Even priests would lose their faith, just among all these other things. But she says that when everything would seem lost and paralyzed, she says, this will mark the arrival of my hour, when I, in a marvelous way, will dethrone the proud and cursed Satan, trampling him under my feet. Right? So it's a message of hope, because that's a reminder, a pretty obvious reference actually to Genesis 3:15, where God says to the serpent, I'll put enmities between thee and the woman, and thy seed and her seed, and she shall crush thy head, and thou shalt lie in wait for her heel. And we know that, the seed of the Blessed Virgin, we're talking about our Lord Jesus Christ. All right? We're talking about the graces communicated to the world that were won on the cross at Calvary. And that's the message, is that, we're not talking about the end of the world here. We're talking about a marvelous restoration of what's been lost. And again, even in the midst of all the crises and chaos that we're experiencing at this time, you can see it. I think even perhaps more vividly than at any time since I've started down this, journey, however many years it's been, back to 25 years ago, when I first, was reading about this, and then went down to Quito, Ecuador myself. Michael, just look at the numbers. It's amazing to me, that my parish had 112 people coming into the church this year. And that's just, one little parish church there. And this is happening all over the country and all over the world. People are returning to the faith. And I think that's very much has to do with, intercession of the Blessed Virgin Mary. In fact, I'm entirely convinced of it. And so that's the thing. I look towards the future, like we used to say, with joyful hope, right? Not with fear or with trepidation, because we have this marvelous restoration to look forward to. And of course, in the very end, please God, you and I will be standing amongst the sheep on his right hand. And that's the good success.
That's right. Very well put. We're so grateful to you, Matthew Arnold, for shedding light on this devotion, Our Lady of Good Success. And for people who want to connect with you, I know you've got a YouTube channel, No Nonsense Catholic. Tell us just a bit about what people will find there when they look to connect with you there.
Sure. Well, I've spent, ever since my conversion back in the late 90s, working in Catholic lay apologetics and evangelization. And I was a catechist at my own parish for many years. So I wanted to be able to kind of share that. I want to call myself semi-retired, although strangely I'm busier now than I used to be. And one of my little projects is to kind of irregularly post videos about the Catholic faith that really cut through the noise and present things in a way that's kind of simple and coherent, and hopefully that will help people to be able to understand Catholics and Catholicism better.
Wonderful. Well, I encourage people to check that out. YouTube, No Nonsense Catholic, to connect with Matthew Arnold and his great work there. Well, thank you so much for joining us on today's program, Matthew Arnold, to discuss Our Lady of Good Success with her feast day right around the corner here on February 2nd. Thanks so much for being with us on today's program.
Oh, what a great honor. Thank you.
God bless. That was Matthew Arnold. Check him out, No Nonsense Catholic, with great reflections on Our Lady of Good Success from Quito in Ecuador. We need to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to be looking at the question of the week. Stay with us for that.
Now, back to the Miracle Hunter on EWTN. Here's Michael O'Neill.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Miracle Hunter radio show on EWTN Radio. This is Michael O'Neill. on the Miracle Hunter. Hey, I love getting your questions. People write in from around the world with questions about miracles happening in today's world and those that have happened centuries ago. And people can go to my Facebook page to see some of the latest and greatest there. But I love getting your questions on email, and I also love answering questions in person. And I travel around the country and give 10 or 20 talks at different parishes, shrines, or conferences, always talking about miracles and talking about Marian apparitions or Eucharistic miracles and whatever it might be, the sainthood process. But for people who want to contact me to have me speak at your parish, your event, you can go to miraclehunter.com and click on the contact tab and send me a message that way. But I got a great question coming in through the email inbox this week, and the question is, what about Our Lady of Naju? Thank you, Stephen. Now, this is, for those people who don't know, Our Lady of Naju refers to an alleged Korean Marian apparition. And this is something that caught my interest or my attention many years ago when I was first launching miraclehunter.com. This was one of the things that was being talked about quite a bit a long time ago. And it still is hanging around, and it's still being talked about. And so sort of the latest update, this relates to claims that Julia Yoon, the purported visionary at Our Lady of Naju Shrine, and those who follow her teachings, they've sort of gotten the negative judgment of the church. So the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Korea issued a letter just this month warning people to avoid the Our Lady of Naju Shrine, given that it's not church approved, and Koreans and those visiting South Korea for the upcoming World Youth Day should not visit this location, claiming to be a site of a Marian apparition. And so that's what the bishops of Korea said in a letter to the faithful on January 12th. And this letter says that this purported visionary is acting in defiance of the magisterium and have purposely misleading Catholics about the validity and approval of the shrine. And there has been claims that from the people surrounding the visionary, the supporters of these teachings and alleged visions are claiming it's church approved, but the visions and events are not supernatural in nature according to the church's judgments. And it was this letter that came out was written explicitly to discourage clergy from participating in the shrine's activities, anyone who thought they were illicit. And so the shrine has been using the 40th anniversary of the visions to actively spread false propaganda through various media, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and according to the bishops. And so they're discouraging people from doing that ahead of the 2027 Seoul World Youth Day. And so that is a vision that was claimed in 1985, and all these years later, it still persists with people believing in this, despite the Catholic Church kind of giving it the red flag on numerous occasions. And so that is the miracle news story for today, or the question of the week, I should say. If you want to find out more, I've posted an article to this on my Facebook page. Let's check out 365 Days with Mary Project. We do this every week where we talk about the Marian devotion as it lines up exactly to the day's date. And we all know Fatima, May 13th, or Lourdes, February 11th, or Guadalupe, December 12th. But believe it or not, there's a different other Marian devotion that lines up exactly to each day of the calendar year. Whether it be a feast day or the building of a basilica or a great miracle that happened on a different date, every day of the year has a different Marian title that connects to it. So for today's date, we've got on January 26th, Our Lady of Hope from Cidade de Esperança in Brazil in the year 1966. And the story goes that the image of Our Lady of Hope was brought by explorer Pedro Álvares Cabral when he discovered Brazil in his travels to the Indies. In 1500, the first masses were said on Brazilian soil near a large cross, an image of the Mother of Hope. And a replica statue was placed in the Brasilia Cathedral, as well as in 13 other parishes, claiming her as patron at the time of the founding of Cidade de Esperança. And beginning on January 31st, 1966, Cidade de Esperança was the nation's first public housing development and was emulated by those in other states. And a church dedicated to Our Lady of Hope was constructed and celebrates its patronal feast on the date of the inauguration of the community. And so that's today's feast day or honorary date of January 31st as it relates to Cidade de Esperanza in Brazil. For more information on this fascinating devotion or any of the hundreds of other Marian devotions from around the world, you can go to 365dayswithmary.com, pick up the book, or download the free app on the iOS App Store, 365 Days with Mary. Let's take a look at the miracle of the day. We do this every week where we talk about a miracle that's happened on the day's date in some year in Christian history. And for today's date, January 31st, we have the Eucharistic miracle at Tumaco, often called the Miracle of the Wave, which took place on January 31st, 1906 along the Pacific coast of Colombia. In that day, a powerful earthquake struck the region, triggering panic amongst the residents of the island town of Tumaco. As the tremors subsided, people noticed an enormous wall of water forming offshore, moving rapidly toward the town. Fearing total destruction, the faithful gathered towards the parish priest, Father Gerardo Laurando, who responded by taking the Blessed Sacrament from the church and leading a procession toward the shoreline. And according to the testimony that's been preserved in local accounts, Father Laurando raised the monstrance containing the Eucharist and blessed the sea as the wave approached. At that very moment, witnesses reported that the advancing water suddenly stopped, and it rose upward as if forming a barrier and then receded back into the ocean without striking the town. Tumaco was spared from devastation, while surrounding coastal areas reportedly suffered heavy damage, and the event left a deep impression on both believers and non-believers, who interpreted the outcome as a divine intervention through the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist. And that is today's miracle of the day, the Eucharistic miracle at Tumaco, on January 31st, 1906. Let's take a look at the sainthood news. We always do this. We talk about they might be saints, those people on the path to sainthood. So last month, Pope Leo received an audience. His Eminence Cardinal Marcello Semeraro, the prefect for the dicastery for the causes of saints. And during this audience, the Pope authorized the dicastery to promulgate the decree regarding the heroic virtues of the servant of God, Berardo Atona, born Giuseppe, professed priest of the Order of Friars Minor, born on July 1st, 1843, at Episcopio de Sarno in Italy, and died on March 4th, 1917, in Naples. And he's been declared a venerable servant of God as of last month. And according to the Dicastery for the Causes of Saints website, they say he was a professed priest of the Order of the Friars Minor. His life was inspired by Christian hope, which gave him confidence in divine mercy and serenity in times of difficulty, and he devoted himself with fraternal charity to alleviating the suffering of the poor, the sick, and the weakest, in whom he saw the face of Christ. He was above all a pastor aimed at the conversion of sinners and the salvation of souls. And he is now venerable, and with one miracle, he will go from being known as Venerable Berardo Atona to Blessed Berardo Atona. And 2 miracles will make him a saint. And he's today's might-be saint of the day, or at least he's the sainthood news for the day. The might-be saint of the day is Blessed Luis degli Albertoni, who died in 1474 in Italy. And she was born to a wealthy and prominent family, married to James di Citara. She was a mother of 3, widowed in 1506. She became a Franciscan tertiary and spent her fortune and ruined her health in caring for the poor. And she was given to religious ecstasies and known as a miracle worker and had the gift of levitation. And she was born in 1474, died in 1533 in Rome of natural causes, and was beatified in 1671 by Pope Clement X in the confirmation of her cult. And that is today's might-be saint of the day, Blessed Luis degli Albertoni from Italy. For those people who are interested in my project, They Might Be Saints, where I look at people on the path to sainthood, talking about servants of God, venerables, blesseds, before they have all their miracles and are declared saints by Rome, people can pick up my book, They Might Be Saints, which is available at EWTNRC.com, which highlights 22 Americans on the path to sainthood, or you can tune into my television series, They Might Be Saints, and you can go to theymightbesaints.com to watch the episodes, or tune into EWTN television. The next one is on Tuesday, February 3rd, Bishop Frederick Barriga, trekking across Michigan's wilderness, earned him the nickname the Snowshoe Priest, but his heroic virtue brought the gospel to Native Americans and immigrant miners, may earn Bishop Barriga sainthood. So check that one out. They Might Be Saints, Bishop Frederick Barriga, on Tuesday, February 3rd. We need to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to be talking with Kevin Symonds about the fake Sister Lucia hypothesis and the research that he's been doing to debunk it. Stay with us for that.
Now, back to the Miracle Hunter on EWTN. Here's Michael O'Neill.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Miracle Hunter radio show on EWTN Radio. This is Michael O'Neill. I'm the Miracle Hunter. Well, we talk a lot about Marian apparitions on this program, and of course, it's my opinion that the gold standard of Marian apparitions is Our Lady of Fatima. And the main seer in those visions are Sister Lucy dos Santos. And there's all kinds of, she lived to old age, and unlike her cousins who died at young age after seeing those visions of the Virgin Mary famously, and in 1917. And there have been lots of theories bandied about by various people who talk about Sister Lucia. And we're so excited today to be joined by Kevin Symonds about this controversy. It shouldn't be a controversy, but it seems to have become one. This question about the fake Sister Lucy hypothesis, whether or not Lucia Fatima was swapped out at some point by church authorities. And it seems like a crazy claim, but there are many, many Catholics out there who either believe in this or who are questioning it. So I'll be so excited to hear what Kevin, who is the true expert on Our Lady of Fatima, has to say. Welcome back to the program today, Kevin Symonds.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's good to be with you once again.
Thank you. It's great to have you back on. And let's break this thing down a little bit. I think for some people, they might not be aware of this, that there is a controversy, that there is a question, that there is this wild idea out there. But others are very familiar with it. So if you can just break it down and summarize, what is this fake Sister Lucy hypothesis, and where did it come from?
Sure. There's an older and more recent iteration of the hypothesis. And in the older hypothesis, it stems back to the early 1990s. There was a conversation that took place after a conference in Fatima, wherein there was a gentleman that had just met with Sister Lucia, and with the cardinal. He was the translator. His name was Carlos Evaristo, and I think I can mention the name publicly because this is all in print. It's not it's nothing anything that's hidden or anything. But long story short, Mr. Evaristo was talking with some people after the interview between the cardinal and Sister Lucia, and the people that he was talking with started questioning whether or not that was the real Lucy that Evaristo had spoken with and had translated for the cardinal. That was the early iteration, and then there were some reiterations of that for the next several years. But then a new iteration appeared shortly after the death of Sister Lucia in February of 2005. In January of 2006, I think it was, there was an organization up around between the New York, New Jersey area that wrote an article that questioned whether or not that was the real Sister Lucia.
But why would anybody say that in the first place? It's kind of a wild claim. What made anybody even go down that path?
Well, Sister Lucia was a person who in some ways was larger than life, and people had subjective interpretations of what they thought she should act like versus who she actually is or was, I guess, in this case. I've been speaking past tense. And so when things that she had demonstrated publicly fell short of some of those expectations, that came to the idea of, well, that must not be the real Lucia. And that's basically how this all got started. We don't want to fall into the genetic fallacy on that point, but insofar as we're just saying what the simple history is, that's the essential nuts and bolts.
And did people get, was the disappointment that may have surrounded the consecration of Russia or the release of the third part of the secret of Fatima, Did that put fuel to the fire of people wondering if that was truly Sister Lucia?
Oh, absolutely. Those are fundamental issues, nail right on the head. That was actually part of the conversation back in the early 90s between the Cardinal and Sister Lucia that Evaristo translated. That was the fundamental question: was the consecration that Our Lady requested actually fulfilled? Was it done? And Sister Lucia had said, yes, it was. And she said this in writing. She said it to the Cardinal. She has said it, a few different times. But unfortunately, that information, her words were not received well by people who had all kinds of objections. Well, what about X, Y, and Z? And unless you could answer X, Y, and Z to their satisfaction, we question everything. Everything is suspect. You can even throw Vatican II in there too, because people have questions about Vatican II in these fake Lucia hypothesis. I call it the FLH for short, fake Lucia hypothesis. People that walk in the FLH circles, a lot of them question Vatican II as well, and they also saw this Sister Lucia from 1967 onward as being like a cheerleader for Vatican II, ergo fake Lucy.
We're talking today with Kevin Symonds, the author of On the Third Part of The Secret of Fatima, and he's coming out with some new articles on his website, kevinsymonds.com, related to this imposter Sister Lucia hypothesis. So, in summary, would you say that the people who are most likely to get behind this hypothesis are people who have questions about Vatican II, or who have questions about the Third Secret being released, or questions about the consecration of Russia? Anybody who disagrees with those things, the only explanation they can come up with is that, well, it must not be the real Sister Lucy. Is that the crux of it?
Not necessarily the only solution, but it is the best according to their mind and way of thinking. It is the fastest solution. It ties up basically, if fraud vitiates all, if we've had an imposter since 1967 onward, we can discredit everything from a certain timetable on back. We don't have to pay attention to it. It's all fake Lucy stuff. It just makes it too nice, neat, and tidy, as opposed to actually looking at what the Fatima message was about and subsequent things that happened in Sister Lucia's life, including in the undisputed period, roughly till about the late 50s or so. People a lot of this is not so much the genetic fallacy, which some people are trying to claim when you dismiss the FLH, fake Lucia hypothesis, as, just a bunch of people that just, have certain issues with certain things. Really, no, it goes a lot deeper than that. They don't really understand the real Sister Lucia. They don't really take the time out to go and dive into the documents, or they may say that they do, but other things, really, when you dive deep into it, not so much. I've been engaged now in a deep dive study of the fake Lucia hypothesis since roughly the end of July of last year. I've gone through the work of Sister Lucy Truth, which is probably the biggest organization promoting the fake Lucia hypothesis at this time, and its founder, Dr. Peter Hoynoski. I've gone through his personal blog, Rad Trad Thomist. I've looked at over 650 blog posts that touch upon or are directly about the fake Lucia stuff. And I'm not impressed with the methodology. There are some very serious questions that are present there, and I'm presently working on a book, co-authoring it with a gentleman over in Portugal, and more details will be forthcoming in the particular book that shows where things kind of went a little askew. But it looks impressive, and this is where a lot of people kind of get starry-eyed, as it were, because he's hired experts to look at stuff and say, hey, yeah, this is a question, or, this handwriting sample here doesn't quite match, this, that, or the other thing. But again, when you dive deep, there's not a lot there, truly of substance, because you find out that there were questions of methodology, and that casts doubt upon some of the conclusions that this one particular organization, Sister Lucy Truth, has done. There are other organizations that have talked about it, though that's a separate but related examination of how they proceeded to look at the facts and come to their conclusions.
And on your website, kevinsymonds.com, you have a new article that was just posted related to the former archivist of Fatima, Father Joaquin Maria Alonso. What is the point of this article? Why point to Alonso now?
Well, that video was my article is in response to a video that came out a little over a month ago. I believe it was December 22nd of 2025, for the Sister Lucy Truth organization and their YouTube channel. The video is about 51 minutes long, and they make a lot of different arguments, but the heart of it is in a book that Father Alonso wrote. He's the former archivist of Fatima. Supposedly, he endorsed the notion that there was an imposter Lucy. Well, unfortunately, the Sister Lucy Truth based itself upon a digitized reproduction of Father Alonso's book. It was originally published in 1976. It was called in English, "The Truth About the Secret of Fatima, Fatima Without Myths." It went in a second edition in 1988 by the organization Sol de Fatima, which, as I understand it, is the Spanish branch of the World Apostolate of Fatima. And, it looks as though Sister Lucy Truth did not consult the physical hard copy of the book. Admittedly, it's difficult to track a copy of that down, but there is a copy over in the National Library in Spain. There, I think it's in Madrid, and somebody else that I know happens to have a copy of the book, and they looked it up and they said to me, "Kevin, what this organization says is in the book is in fact not in the hard copy." So I looked everything up, and I found out that there were brackets in the digitized version, which indicates there was a later editorial change. Not to mention, the book came out in 1988, 7 years after Father Alonso had died. How could that possibly be, without any sort of an explanation? Not impossible that Alonso might have done that, but there's no explanation given for people as to how that could have happened 7 years later. But here we have an alternative idea that, in fact, somebody put this into the digital edition, indicated by brackets, and unfortunately, Sister Lucy Truth just did not do its due diligence. I'm sorry to say, but that appears to be the case based upon the information that we have at this time. And so I wrote the article to show that, in fact, this particular evidence that they have put forward is not quite what they claim to be.
Amazing. We've been talking today with Kevin Symonds about the fake Sister Lucy hypothesis that he's addressing on his website, kevinsymonds.com. And what is your great hope, Kevin, for when you've obviously spent a lot of time slogging through blog posts and going and tracking down original sources and comparing them to the digitized copies and trying to find out if these claims are true. What is your great hope that when you get done with your research and that you put it all out in a book or otherwise, what's your great hope for this effort that you're putting in?
Well, I really think that there's a certain angle about Sister Lucy's life that has been heretofore really unappreciated, which is her heroic virtue. I really think that that's going to stand out more when this book is written, and we see that, some of these claims about there being a false Lucia, in fact, they touch upon her virtue. The real Lucia I'm talking about. People don't understand her, who she really was as a person. Somebody graced, of course, with the extraordinary grace to see our Blessed Lady and the Angel of Portugal, but still a human being. And this side of Lucy is starting to come out more and more, and I'm hoping that this book ultimately will help to provide a perspective upon Sister Lucia that people don't really know about too much in the English-speaking world. So it's not so much about debunking some horrible theories as much as it is the research is showing me that she was a very extraordinary woman, but also very human, which is often how God works. And so my hope and my prayer for this research and the findings is that we can ultimately put some of these questions aside and really learn more about what Our Lady's message was at Fatima through the lived experience of Sister Lucia, who is, I believe, a beautiful witness to that message because she lived it, and we need to know how to live it through her witness.
Wonderful. Well, we'll certainly be having you back on the show. It serves as a great tease for people who are interested in this and knowing that someone like you is digging into the truth and going to share it with the world. So we're so grateful to you, Kevin Symonds, for joining us on today's program and talking to us about this fake Sister Lucia hypothesis and for all your good work. Thank you so much, Kevin, for joining us on today's program.
Thank you for having me. It's been great to talk with you.
And that was Kevin Symonds talking to us about the fake Lucia hypothesis. Check out his website, kevinsymonds.com, and that's Symonds spelled Symonds.com to find out more about his work digging into this topic. And that's all the time we have for today's show. If you missed any of this episode or want to catch up on past episodes, you can go to EWTN.com/radio. Check out the audio archives or download the free EWTN app. I'd like to thank our guest today, Matthew Arnold, talking to us about Our Lady of Good Success, and Kevin Symonds talking to us about the fake Lucia hypothesis. And I'd like to thank you for joining me today on Miracle Hunter, where from claims of healings and visions to the world's most inexplicable events, whether you're a believer or a skeptic, the truth is always worth a hunt. Talk to you next week.